Today we're doing section 3.6, example 4 on page 124. We had just finished talking about retail price and discount rates and markups. So today we're going to be talking about two other things. We're going to be talking about tips. For example, if you go out to eat, a waiter or waitress gets paid very, very small amount hourly by their employer. So they rely heavily on the tips that you leave them. And so a tip is figured out by taking the tip rate times the total bill. Now this formula should look pretty similar to you because again we have a rate times the whole equals a part. So again it's just understanding the vocabulary and the verbiage of what is a tip, what is a tip rate, and the total bill is referring to what you're paying. Let's see. The other thing that a lot of places will do, or companies, are have what they call commissions. So for example, if you worked at a car dealership, a salesman would get a certain percent of their total sales instead of a regular salary. So when you walk in sometimes on a dealership, they know they're not going to get paid unless they sell you that car. So they're going to be really pushing very, very hard, using a lot of what I call sales tactics to get you to buy a car because they don't get paid for their time spent with you unless you purchase a car because they get a commission, which has to do with the commission rate times the total sales. So again, if you look at these look very, very familiar. Think about a clothing store. When you go into a clothing store and you ask the lady, does this dress look good on me? Well, if she's getting paid by commission, she's going to tell you yes, because the only way she's going to make any money is if you buy that dress. If you go into a clothing store and they're paid by the hour, and it doesn't matter whether you buy that dress or not, they're probably more likely to be honest with you. So those are things to look familiar. So why would an employee do this? Because the employee wants you working very hard to sell their product. So that's why they would do commission, and it saves them, they think it saves them money, okay? But this pattern here should look familiar to you, all right? Let's look at example 4. It says, find Jeff's commission rate if his total sales for electronic equipment for the month was $8,250. And his gross income for the month was $33,660, including a monthly salary of $2,175. So if you look at the book, they've kind of set this up. Let's look at what we know. We know the salary. So basically, this particular person is getting a salary, plus they're getting a commission, okay? So the salary plus whatever that commission is going to equal the gross amount that this person earned, their gross income. Now, if you look at the book, they made a mistake. They wrote commission here, and it really technically should be gross income. And a commission is determined, well, what is commission? Commission is the rate times the total sales. So basically what we need to do is we need the commission rate here times whatever the sales are. This whole expression right here represents the commission. So that's how they kind of came up with their equation. So let's plug in what we know. They said the salary that he got was $2,175. They said his total sales was what? $8,250. And of course, we don't know what the rate is because they're asking what was his rate. They did tell you what the gross that he earned, in other words, the salary plus whatever the commission was. And I believe that was $3,660. So now that we've plugged in what we know, we can solve our equation. Again, we're going to subtract, right? This gives me 250 times the rate, which gives me 1,485. And again, we're going to divide both sides because we're trying to find out what R is. So we get R equals, and in this case we get 0.18. Now we're talking about a rate, so we really want to then make that a percent. All right, so this particular person, Jeff, was earning an 18% rate. That's what they had asked us to find. Now, this is the way they set up. How would I do the problem? Actually, I would do the problem differently. So I'm going to, right here, move this over and say gross income to give myself some room. So this is how I would have done the problem myself personally instead of writing it out this way. I would have said, okay, they asked me what the rate is. Well, I know that sales times the commission rate equals the commission. I know that, right? I know that the sales are 8,250. The rate is what I'm trying to find. And so now I but the thing is, I don't know the commission at this point. So I have two unknowns. But I can figure the commission because what I need to realize, and I could go off to the side here and I could say, well, if I take the amount of sales and I subtract, excuse me, if that was then, if I take the gross, okay, I just realized this thing. So if I take my gross of what he earned, which was 3,000, and I subtract the salary, I'm going to get, because remember, this is what he got, subtract his salary amount, that's going to tell me what he got as far as commissions, what that total was. And I'm sorry I had plugged in the wrong number earlier, so I want to go ahead and check my work here. All right, so this is what he got in commission. So now I know what this is. Okay, and think about it. What did they just do here? They took this minus this, didn't they? Isn't that what I'm doing? But I just wanted to use this particular simpler formula, and I realized that if this is the totally got paid, so I got paid in salary, then the remaining amount when I subtract that represents commissions. So I've done that. So now I have this simpler problem which I could solve, which is basically you're just doing the same thing. You're right here now. You're just dividing both sides by 8,250, and again you get R equals 0.18, which is 18%. So you could have done that problem, worked that problem up, a different way if you wanted. All right, so let me give you a practice problem. I am going to have you, when I give you the practice problem, you know the routine, right? So I'm going to give you two practice problems. All right, so here it is. I'm going to try to hold this still for you. The first one is Caleb's weekly average sales was $1,982. So that's what he got weekly. His commission rate was 20% weekly. What did he earn in 11 weeks? So that's the first one. And the second practice problem I'd like you to try is a family ate out. Their bill was $83.47. What is the tip if Dad left a 20% tip, rounded to the nearest dollar? So he's paying 20% rate. This was the total, and they're asking what is the tip. This is what he made weekly. This was the commission he made each week. They did distinguish that this was weekly. Okay, so you're going to figure out what does he make, what is his commission weekly, but they want to know how much he earned in 11 weeks, or basically how much did he earn in the summer, because that's all he worked in the summer was 11 weeks. So I'm going to let you think about what you need to do with that 11. So go ahead and try that, and then come back and see if you got the right answer, and we'll work it together. All right, so on the practice 4 problem, your answer should have been $4,360.40. If not, we need to work it. On the practice 5, your answer should have been a $17 tip. And this is how much he made for the summer, or in 11 weeks. So this was his summer, if you're laboring it, his summer commissions, or you could say his commissions for 11 weeks. All right, if you were to label that. So let's work the first one together. We know that commission equals the commission rate times the total sales. Well, we want to find out what is the weekly commission in the first one, because he had a total rate of 20%. So I'm going to go ahead and make that 0.10 times the total sales, and his average sales for the week was $1,982. That equals your commission, right? Go ahead and multiply that out, and you should have got $396.40. Now stop and think, what is that? That's the commission. That's a weekly commission. That's what he got each week. But go back and look at the story problem. Did we answer the question that they asked? No. The question was, and always do this on story problems, when you think you're done, go back and say, wait a minute, does this answer the question? So the question was, how much did he make in 11 weeks? Well, this is what he got weekly. So I need to multiply this by 11 to find out how much he made in 11 weeks, or for the total summer. When you multiply that out, you get $4,360.40. So that's what he made for the summer, or the 11 weeks. Okay, so there's that one. Now let's look at practice 5 and work that one. Practice 5. The family ate out, so we're doing this tip right here, right? So I'm going to go ahead, we did practice 4, just so we're here. I'm going to go ahead and use this formula because we're talking about a tip. The family ate out, and the total bill, which they told us was $83.47. That times the rate, which he told us was 20%. I'm going to go ahead and make that 2.0. That will tell me what the tip is. If I multiply this out, I get 16.694. That equals the tip. But the instruction says round to the nearest dollar. So basically, if I round up to the dollar, I have $17, because you're not going to give 69 cents. Okay, so you're going to round up and make it $17. So he gave the waitress a $17 tip.